What's up and what's good, party people? I'm Jack Patterson, welcoming you to week 10 of the PrepZone preview, joined as always by Sports Director Rex Castillo. And man, oh man, it's the last week of the region season in Alabama, which means we have region title games this week.
For me, it's kind of like the playoffs start already. Seeing these games and the environments turn up to 11, these kids are going to play their hearts out. Really excited to see what happens.
Oh yeah, we start in Georgia, but just because we start in Georgia doesn't mean we don't have big things going.
Right.
We have a region title game in Region 5 2A. It's Heard County at Callaway. These two teams are really familiar with each other. They have played for the region title the last 3 seasons, with Heard County taking the last 2. And oh boy, this is just going to be an out-and-out slugfest.
I think when you see punch, counter punch, these two teams are kind of the favorite to win a state championship. So in a way, this kind of becomes a state championship preview, depending on how the brackets line up. But we have been so impressed by how Callaway has become the monster they have. They are so deep at every position. And Demetrius Coleman, he does get a little lost in the headlines because Jacob Freeman and Tank Bigsby doing their thing, the defense doing their thing. But I have to give a lot of credit to him. The young man has become quite the leader and signal caller down there. And he is making plays that this team desperately needs, but at every position, it's incredible. When they beat Spencer, because Spencer played Heard County very, very well. By beating Spencer the way they did, I thought it was a statement to the defending state champs that they're coming for that title. And I got to be honest, I think we've both been saying it since the beginning of the season when they, after the Opelika game, they look like they can go to Atlanta and win it all. I
100% agree with you. This team has been dangerous. Just seeing what they've done in the last few weeks. I was there in attendance when they destroyed Lamar County, who was the 7th-ranked team in the state, and then saw what they did on Saturday against Spencer, where it wasn't a contest.
Right.
And just, it's effortless. Some of their games literally look effortless.
That's what's so scary about them. So I think because you have to put in the work, though, to make it look that easy. So this game is going to be really interesting because Heard County, I think we looked at the record, it's not look that great, but in region, it's fantastic. It's undefeated.
Yeah. Well, yes, because Heard County played a tough non-region schedule, so don't let the record fool you.
Right.
But in region, they've been just as dominant as ever.
I mean, a common opponent they had is LaGrange. LaGrange beat Heard County on the road. That's a fantastic win for the Grangers. But when Callaway played LaGrange, Lord, it looked like they ran him off the stadium. I mean, it was one of those things where little petty stuff got in the way. Jacob Freeman got kicked out for taunting, and I knew that game was really hyped up because when you share a county, it gets really hyped up.
Yes, it does.
But I think Callaway, again, they've executed so well, and they've dominated, and once their foot is on your throat, it's over, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely over. So this game is going to be just out and out fun. It's going to be a shootout. I lean Callaway here, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It is going to be an electric atmosphere at Callaway Stadium on Friday night.
Should be a lot of fun, man. Should be a lot of fun. Good luck, Cavs.
All right, let's cross the river over to Alabama because we have all kinds of playoff scenarios to go through.
Shout out to Jack for doing the homework on this. That's outstanding.
Yeah, and I'll post that homework on WRBL.com so you will be able to see it in the sports section. So let's go over to Region 4-1A. It's a region we don't talk about a lot, but we have two teams in that one. Lynette, who if you watch this show, you know who Lynette is.
Yeah.
And Notasulga, we'll get to them in a second. So Lynette is hosting Billingsley this week. It's the 1-3 matchup in that region, but the winner of that game is going to win the region.
So Lynette wins, region champions.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So, and Lynette has looked phenomenal so far this year, still undefeated, and have looked pretty convincing in just about every one of their games.
So I know that they won it all a couple of years ago. How do they look compared to that team?
They're getting close to that point again, where it's just almost academic.
And I think Alabama commit Christian Story had to take a lot more of the weight on. I know that he led them as a sophomore, but to be a senior, be the dude, it takes a little bit of adjustment. So we saw them play with some really close games against teams that we didn't expect them to. But now that they're finding the form, Christian Story is the real deal.
And not only that, they're winning those kind of games, which in the past Lynette teams have had issues with in the past.
Sure.
So for the fact that they're winning these games only speaks volumes of how far that team has come.
So it looks like Jordan Hare is very possible for the Panthers.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Notasulga. Notasulga is a team that we don't get to talk about a lot.
Lynette does suck up a lot of the spotlight, but they deserve it. I mean, but Notasulga, you're right. I go through the situation because when you brought it to me in the office, I'm like, that is a pleasant surprise to see.
It really is. So Notasulga has a very real chance if they win to be the 2 seed coming out of this region, which is a welcome sight. For those who've been watching this show for years, they'll remember that a few years back, Notasulga was a powerhouse team making runs to the Elite Eight every year.
Right.
So they've been down for the last couple of years, being a 3-4 seed, for the last few years. But they're back now, and they've looked impressive from what we've seen in them so far this year. So, and they have an opportunity on Friday night if they beat Wadley to get a home playoff game for the first time in a pretty good while going down at Blue Devil Stadium.
And I love it when smaller communities like that get such a huge high-profile game. Noticeable, kind of like the Manchester on the Georgia side is. They were a team who were pretty dominant a few years ago, but have that resurgence coming up. I think it's just good for the area. It's good for us because we get to see these amazing games. But I think for the Blue Devils, when you take that step to be the number 2 seed, and Lynette is going to do Lynette things, but you worry about yourself and do great things. The Blue Devils maybe meet Lynette down the line. Who knows? But I think the playoffs, anything can happen. So I think what's impressive to you is that you have a culture shift again, not necessarily the people with how they impressed you with their commitment to changing the narrative.
And it's the same coach as Anthony Jones. It's the same coach who's been behind this. So it's the same thing going on. I think they've just finally regrouped and gotten it back together again, which at times you have to do, even under the same coach. You have to, sometimes, things just don't go your way. So you have to build back up and you have to and they were in a tough region for a long time as well. So the region realignment also helped them out. But still, the fact that they're back in prominence to the point that we're talking about them again is fantastic to see.
Well, good luck, Blue Devils. We'll see how it goes in the playoffs.
All righty. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
It is our Friday night tailgate game of the week at Duck Sanford Stadium. It's the one we've been waiting for all season long.
Absolutely.
Central against Auburn. Winner take all for the Region 278 title. I mean, what more needs to be said, Mr. Castillo?
Nothing really needs to be said. Anytime you put Auburn High and Central together on a schedule, it's going to be a great atmosphere.
Magic tends to happen.
All the time. And I think with Auburn being that consistent team, being who they are, even if they had a really tough game on the road last week, but the fact that Central has been beating people out of their minds, it's really impressive to anything that can happen. The second half is what I'm looking at because we saw Central struggle against Jeff Davis. I don't know what happened at that halftime speed.
Neither did I.
But when you put up 49 at the end of the game and keep Jeff Davis in single digits, that's what I'm really interested to see. Is because Central, we've talked about this earlier in the year. Central, for some reason, starts slow, maybe in the first drive. They find their mojo and then it's off to the races. If Auburn can jump on that downslope, then things change in the Duck.
Absolutely.
Now, I still think Central has the better chance of winning this game, and because they've just been on a trajectory, but I think Auburn has the best chance of being a spoiler in this situation.
Listen, there's one interesting thing that I'm looking forward to seeing out there, and that is how does Auburn's defense match up with Central's offense?
Whoa.
Because Auburn's defense, especially in the last few weeks, has been legit. Even in the game they lost to Lee, they held a lead of 14 points.
Yeah.
They held Prattville to 3 last week. Like the Auburn defense is on another level right now.
It's fine. They're finding their stride.
And we've talked ad nauseum about Central's offense all season.
Oh yeah. Well, they deserved it. I mean,
and deservedly so.
I mean, EJ, Robert Marsh leading that core group. Everyone around there. That 2-quarterback system back in full form.
Exactly. So, and deservedly so. But I'm really interested to see how that offense goes against Auburn's defense, because that defense has been legit all season. I don't know if they've given up more than 21 points in a game. If they have, it's been not by much. I think maybe the Opelika game. But still, they've just been lights out.
What I'm also interested to see is Central seems to rise to the occasion every single time. So against that defense, because we thought that Opelika game was going to be, you take the under, they blow everybody out of the water. But I agree that this defense and Central offense is going to be the X factor.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes down to it, it may come down to a one-possession game. I'm not saying that because Central may blow them out again.
We don't want to have to do another apology again.
Right, but there's a lot of pride that the Auburn Tigers have in that defense.
Exactly. And I honestly think I agree with you that the tide of that game is going to come down to who gets the better of that matchup. If Central's offense is explosive and are able to do the things they've been doing to other teams to Auburn's defense, it's going to be a long night for the Tigers in Duck Sanford Stadium. But if Auburn's defense can stop Central's offense, it's going to be a very, very interesting game.
And I think we'll also see how Trey and Tucker make their decisions. They might have to make some plays on their feet, or with their feet, but at the same time, like when you have a region ground on the line at your own stadium, you want to raise that up.
And let's just talk about the region title for a second. Central's going for number 6 in a row.
6.
Number 6
This is
in a
going to be
row.
the Jordan picture with 6? Wow.
Here's the difference.
I didn't realize that. That's amazing.
Since Alabama went to Class 7A and this region was created, there has been one region title holder, and it's the Central Red Devils.
How great would it be if you're an Auburn Tiger to break that streak on your home field?
Auburn is looking for their first region title since 2013. What else happened in 2013? That was the year they went to the state championship game.
Well, here we go, Tigers. Red Devils, have fun. We'll definitely be down there. And this guy will be there for the tailgate game of the week. I knew you were at an incredible environment in Manchester. How excited are you to be at this environment?
This is going to be otherworldly. I covered Central Auburn 2 years ago at the Duck, and that atmosphere was something that you just don't see at a lot of high school events.
It's a mini SEC. It's a mini SEC.
That was before they made it the last game of the season for the region title. So this is going to be absolutely insane going down in Auburn Friday night.
We'll see if the All-American can raise up another region championship in EJ, but we'll also see if Auburn can finally break the streak. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. It is our tailgate game of the week, Central and Auburn at the Duck. I'll be there live at 5 and 6
Yes,
on
sir.
the first of the evening edition. And, of course, we'll have the highlights for you on the Prep Zone presented by WOW, 11:15, 10:15 Central every Friday night. So stay with us, especially this week, because we will update you as we get them on all the playoff scenarios going on in Alabama. So we'll keep you up to date on that. Now, before we go, we're not doing teams hitting the road this week because we just got way too many important games to go through. And instead of making this 50 minutes long, we're just going to run through some of them right now.
Let's go.
So, back in Georgia, Region 1-4A, might be just as crazy as any of these other regions. Cairo taking on America Sumter down in Americus. That game is huge for America Sumter. That 3-game gauntlet with Cairo, Westover, and Carver to finish the season starts now. If America Sumter wants a shot at the region title and they can still win it, they've got to win out these 3 games.
And I think America Sumter playing spoiler would be one of the best things they could do because it's been Cairo and Carver all the way down. But Ross Couch is that team firing on all cylinders. They had a slow start against in their game last week up here in Columbus, but man, that team looks good when they're firing on all cylinders.
Absolutely. And staying in 1-4A, another team that's going to be watching that Cairo America Sumter game is going to be Hardaway because Hardaway is on the playoff bubble right now, and a lot of everything that goes on in America Sumter will play into whether Hardaway has a shot to make the playoffs. They host Columbus on the back half of the doubleheader at Connect Stadium. That is at 8 o'clock kickoff Friday night. And Hardaway, even though they've had some tough games against Cairo and Westover and Carver, well, not Westover, they haven't played Westover yet, but Cairo and Carver, they still have a shot to go dance in the playoffs for a second straight year.
When they had a tough win against Doherty, and I think that says a lot about a gutsy performance. When things aren't going your way, you make it happen, and that's what you have to do down towards the stretch. You have a Columbus team, maybe not a whole lot to play for the way that their season's going, but if they play spoilers to Hardaway, that's a win in my book. And so I think Coach Marino has a way of finding those little nuggets for them to play because it came down to execution against Shaw, and it was in the rain. It's not a lot of fun to play in, but I think you saw a couple of explosive plays from Trey Peterson, and you need stuff like that. You need a guy like that to lead your charge.
Absolutely. Speaking of Shaw, don't forget Thursday night, Carver against Shaw at Connect Stadium. Shaw can flip this whole thing upside down with an upset. So we'll have you covered for that as well. A lot of big games in Region 1-4A in Georgia. Cross the river back over to Alabama, another region title game. The Valley Rams, how about this?
Good for y'all, man. Welcome back.
From out of the playoffs a year and a change ago to making the playoffs for the first time last year, and now on the verge, if they pull off the win against Charles Henderson on Friday night, of winning the region title.
We saw this team on the upswing when they beat Lynette last year.
Yes.
And we thought that was going to be a wash. So we saw the Valley Rams that won our Athletes of the Week that week. This week, man, I think it's not a matter of be surprised that the Rams are here. It's like, look, we're contenders now, and we want this postseason success. I got to say, we're rooting for the Rams on this one. That's really exciting for them.
Incredible story from Buster Daniel and his team. And last but not least, this is a game with 2 teams that are not in our area, but involves a team in our area. This is Lanier at Dothan on Friday night, and this involves Eufaula. So if Lanier wins this game, Eufaula wins Region 2-5A.
Wow. So the biggest Lanier fans live in Eufaula right now.
Exactly. And this will be Eufaula's first region title in a few years. So if Lanier can pull this off, and that region has been a crapshoot this season, where it's been a lot of parity, where we've had teams towards the bottom of the standings beating teams at the top of the standings and vice versa. So Eufaula, of course, they lost to Dothan earlier in the year, but they beat Lanier. It would create, if Dothan would have 2 losses if Lanier were to pull off the win. that would leave Eufaula and Lanier tied for the region. So, and that tiebreaker would go to Eufaula. So, like you said, a lot of Lanier fans in Barber County this week.
And a lot of, again, props to him for doing the homework. We have to spend a couple more minutes here on Eufaula. Hess Horn has been a baller this year.
Absolutely.
That has been an incredible performance from him. I'm still getting over the Zai Neal juke that they had against Carver Montgomery. That was outstanding.
That was ridiculous. That was N1 level.
It was. He brought up N1 mixtape level, and I just lost it on the prep zone. But I think this team, with playmakers on both sides of the ball and the defense playing up with the same tenacity that offense is, I really want to see how far they can go. Do you think outside chance or pretty much the inside track to get to Jordan Hare?
I'll say somewhere in between the two.
Gotcha.
Because this is like one of those old school Eufaula teams that I covered when I first started covering the prep zone here.
Okay, gotcha.
Where they have a tenacious defense, one of the best in our area, and then Hess Horn has that offense rolling.
Man, looking like Joe Burrow out there, bro. Good job, Hess.
And those two things for Eufaula mean success, and the fact that I believe they've clinched the 2 seed no matter what.
Gotcha.
But if they have a home game at Tiger Stadium in the first round of playoffs, it will be legit rocking. And Tiger Stadium is a tough place to play in the playoffs.
You did a great job with that story about going to Eufaula and talking about how they've come together as a team. They were kind of a middle of the pack team for these past couple of years. Good contenders, outside chance to make some noise in the postseason. At this point, I'd be surprised if they don't make some noise in the postseason.
And going back to that story that I did, this is a team that is, as far as we're talking 6A schools here, is one of these smaller 6A schools in the state.
Kind of right on the fringe of the 6A and 5A.
Exactly. So, they're in sense, even in region play, they're punching up. And they're not only just punching up, they're knocking teams out.
So technically you're in the same division, but I like that analogy a lot, is that you're knocking people out that you have no business knocking out. And so 6A squad, right?
Yeah, they're a 6A school.
So they're an Opelika level, like technically in the same class.
Yes, they're in the same class.
Would that be if they met up?
Oh my God, I would love to see Opelika and Eufaula, and it's a possibility.
So
because I do think this team could make a deep run into the playoffs.
So Opelika kind of being the expectation, we saw how well they played and how we expect them to get to Jordan Hare. Eufaula has been a really fun Cinderella story.
Yeah, and it would be fantastic to see that Cinderella story conclude with a region title and then them making a deep run into the playoffs. That would be fantastic.
So selfishly, we're supposed to be objective to go Lanier so we can talk about Eufaula getting that region championship, but I'm really excited to see.
And we'll have an update on the Lanier Dothan game for you on Friday night. We'll make sure we get you covered. It's this week and the next few weeks more than ever. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, at WRBL Sports, and our personal accounts at Rex Castillo TV, WRBL Rex Castillo on Facebook, at Jay Patterson TV, WRBL Jack Patterson on Facebook. We will keep you updated as we go through these playoff scenarios because it's only beginning.
Whole lot of homework, but a whole lot of fun down the stretch. Love this time of year.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for week 10 of the Prep Zone preview. So for Rex, I'm Jack. We'll catch you same time next week on Thursday. And as always, go out and enjoy the games. We'll catch you later.